A child survival and development revolution is sweeping the continent, bringing new hope to parents that their children can grow up to lead healthy and productive lives. The Organization of African Unity declared 1988 the year for protection, survival, and development of the African child. The goal? To increase parents' awareness and action regarding immunization, oral rehydration, breastfeeding, growth monitoring, and other low-cost, high-impact techniques. Achieving this goal is a tremendous challenge, for Southern Africa faces what may seem like insurmountable problems: war, drought, famine, and recession. Children under 5 years of age are dying at the rate of 1 every 3 minutes. Some of these deaths are caused by disease. Far too many are the result of war. In 1986, in Angola and Mozambique alone, 140,000 children died as a result of fighting. Economic warfare is ever present. While average income in Africa fell 15% from 1980 to 1985, destabilization tactics have worsened the impact of recession in the frontline states. In one attempt to relieve this situation, UNICEF joined delegates to the World Health Organization in declaring the new Bamako Initiative. It proposes that immunization and essential drugs be used as the opening wedge to achieve the broadest possible delivery of health care and other basic services for all people in Africa. The Bamako Initiative envisions a practical framework for financing health services. By encouraging the local community to collect a small charge for essential drugs, health posts can help pay for themselves. And by providing a dependable source of life-saving drugs, parents are brought into regular contact with healthcare workers. At the same time, the local health infrastructure is built up in ways which can be used to deliver other basic services, such as improved sanitation and home hygiene. The child survival and development revolution relies as much on knowledge and community action as it does on medicine. When parents know there are simple, inexpensive steps they can take as individuals, they will be far more likely to take the action required to improve the health of their children. That knowledge and motivation can have a significant impact on the 4 million African children under the age of 5 that die each year. The tragedy is that at least half those deaths could have been avoided. A communications explosion makes the child survival revolution possible, and radio plays a major part. It can rapidly spread information to every village on the continent. Even those unable to read can now be brought into contact with the latest techniques for improving the quality of their lives and those of their children. Newspapers, magazines, television, posters, plays, movies, a host of other media can reinforce the value of child care techniques. This is the way parents learn how immunization protects their children from diphtheria, whooping cough, measles, tetanus, tuberculosis, and polio. This is how they discover that oral rehydration means their children no longer need die from diarrhea. It is also how they learn that breastfeeding their infants for at least 6 months protects against disease. Through the mass media, parents realize the value of a proper diet, birth spacing, prenatal care, growth monitoring, and home hygiene. The communications explosion makes it possible for parents to learn the latest treatment for malaria and to recognize acute respiratory infection. The mass media provide parents with primary health care knowledge, and this knowledge gives their infants a better chance not only to survive, but to grow up and lead productive lives. And they will need to increase the odds in their favor as much as possible, for Southern and Eastern Africa faces serious political and economic problems. The frontline states are suffering from wars that do not distinguish between civilians and combatants. Wars that turn hospitals and healthcare posts into targets. Since 1982, more than 40% of Mozambique's healthcare posts have been destroyed by guerrilla attacks. This has left more than 2 million people with no health care, leading to further disease and death. Another measure of the turmoil, some 9 million people in Angola and Mozambique, or half the rural population, have fled their homes. Often they are refugees in their own land. And the effect of the fighting inevitably spills over national borders, forcing many to live in displaced persons camps in neighboring countries. Attacks on rail lines and power plants disrupt economic production, causing a significant loss of funds that could otherwise have been spent on social programs. In addition, exports are down, foreign aid grows slowly, while debt payments skyrocket. The severe pressure on the economies of the frontline states poses a direct threat to children of those countries. UNICEF believes it is crucial for the well-being of Africa's children that the austerity caused by these economic problems not lead to drastic cutbacks in healthcare and other social services. Despite these formidable problems, progress is still possible, as evidenced by the expansion of immunization and other social programs in many countries throughout the continent. Zimbabwe stands as a shining example of how social mobilization can greatly improve living conditions. Every method for reaching the public was used to explain how immunization saves lives, and the people responded to sermons, radio plays, theater performances, banners, posters, and many other messages. They brought their children and their immunization passports to health posts throughout the country. Zimbabwe now has a life expectancy of 56 years, the highest in the region. In Ethiopia, sanitary conditions were improved in Addis Ababa with the installation of hoses to flush out public latrines. Landfills were covered to prevent the spread of disease. Literacy classes were offered, as well as instruction in oral rehydration therapy. This is the kind of adult education that can bring health to all by the year 2000. There's also an intensive program of immunization underway in Addis Ababa, which will go a long way toward preventing infant death. The program began in 1985. Organized on a neighborhood basis, volunteers encouraged mothers, pregnant women, and children to participate. Those same volunteers helped keep the records and made follow-up visits to make sure everyone got the full series of vaccinations. In 8 short months, the immunization rate for children under the age of 2 more than doubled. Nearly as impressive was the jump in percentage of pregnant women who went to be immunized. President Jarawa of the Gambia and Prime Minister Diouf of Senegal demonstrated their commitment to achieve universal child immunization by 1990. In Senegal, the site of the 1987 Artists and Writers Symposium, participants did more than talk about social mobilization. They staged a tom-tom in Dakar. The concert drew a large, enthusiastic audience and heightened awareness of the country's immunization program.
Monde me wanga kiele na kiele ni mawe ni kasonde yeno belebana
In addition to concerts, Senegal used mass media, local officials, volunteer groups, religious leaders, even the town crier to spread the word. Mobile health teams in this intense campaign achieved a jump in the immunization rate for Senegalese children. Even in Mozambique, plagued by a war that has had a devastating effect on children, efforts proceed to build a social infrastructure. Education and primary health care continue, even in refugee camps. The government is also educating adults, teaching villagers how to sew, how to manufacture bricks. These bricks will build better houses, and other skills will build a better economy. The same is true of greenbelt gardens, city cooperatives that increase cultivation income and self-esteem. These African success stories prove that difficult obstacles can be overcome. What it takes is a grand alliance for children, a coalition that includes virtually every group able to help spread the message. That alliance is forming now, adding momentum to the drive to improve primary health care throughout Southern Africa. Everyone in the arts can make this information more accessible to the people who need it most. By so doing, they can help see that these children and millions of others like them grow up healthy and strong. Together, members of this grand alliance can turn a dream into reality. They can work towards bringing primary health care to all Africans by the year 2000. They can work to establish healthcare programs that pay most of their own costs. By contributing their time and their talents, performers, artists, writers can make the 21st century a time of triumph for the African family.